So we had to put these things in order. I want y'all to pay attention. We had to put these things in order. What would be the order you think it typically goes in for most women? And we're putting these things in order for the ability to be able to actually lead and teach that woman. And then we have the concept of sex. And then we're talking the money, the financial, just the money itself. If we had to place this in the order that you think that most women typically walk it down, where there's the money, the sex, and that actual ability to lead. What would y'all think would be the order? I'm gonna start with the ladies, of course, on this one. Izzy, go first. What you think?
I think you said order of importance.
Yeah. Money, leadership, and sex.
Well, definitely money first. Um, then leadership, then sex.
Okay. Smokey, what you think? Things in order now.
In order to whom?
Just to what you think you see like the majority of women. I'm not asking you personally, but when you look at how like a lot of the way that just women operate, what is the order you think how they most women are typically carrying this thing on?
Or this women money.
Money
If
and
it's
which
women
one's next?
money,
Which one's next?
sex.
So
Sex.
money, sex, and then the leadership.
Yeah. Most women.
What's the
Depending
order?
on who the woman is.
What's the order?
She said money,
Depending on who
sex,
the
then
woman
leadership.
is. This why should, and this is why I say that. Because you got women that are lost. Like they don't even understand they in their masculine energy. And then you got women that are aware that it's more masculine than it is feminine and it's not cool. So who is the woman? I have to start there only because
Now, just
I
in
have to start.
just in general, he's saying just in general.
I
Yeah,
already
she
said it
answered. She
then.
answered in general though. She did. She said money,
I already
sex, and
said it
then
then.
yeah,
Okay,
she answered.
If I
I
already
heard you say
spoke, then
money,
I
but I ain't
spoke.
heard the rest of it. And then I heard you say sex, but then I
Then I
ain't.
already spoke. Yeah.
Okay.
Matt, what you think, man? If you look at it in general, what's the order you think it seems to be that they put it in?
If I go by in general, I would say money first. I would say sex, and then I would say leadership last. I think which is crazy. I think, and I think overall it's based on where that lady is at in her life. A lot of times women don't value leadership until they've been like severely damaged. Like so they went through a lot of hardship, a lot of pain and trauma. Then they start valuing the leadership aspect. I think a lot of women overlook that at the beginning. I think in the early stages, it's sex, then money. But as they get older, it becomes money, then sex, then leadership. And then as they get really older, it becomes money, leadership. I think it's just based on what phase they're in their life. But overall, I would say money first, sex, and then leadership.
Okay. Mr. Doctor, what you think about that, man? We got to put that thing in order, man. How you think they rocking it?
I think for the most part they rocking with money, leadership, then sex. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like if you don't get a leadership, you can't really. You might just get finesse out of your money. You ain't gonna get lead to ain't gonna lead to no sex. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta have some sort of leadership skills to really like maintain women. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, a lot of women these days they prioritize money, leadership, and then sex. You know what I mean? But I think it should be leadership, money, and sex because the leadership
Yeah.
could guide the money and you know what I'm saying, keep everything in order and it's like no longevity. But it's like, you know what I mean? It depends. It depends on what stage they are in life, like the brother said just now.
But I hear more women. If we go by general, when I hear women speak, I hear more women say they broke up with a guy because he was broke or bad sex more than I hear them say I broke up with a guy because he wasn't a leader. I
But a
rarely
lot,
hear. I done heard it before, but I hear the money part. He was broke. He couldn't keep a job, or I hear like he was bad and he bad way more than I hear the leadership aspect of it.
I feel you,
That's
but a lot of women don't even know that they need leadership. You know what I'm saying? A lot of women don't even know that they need leadership until like they've been through it, and you know what I'm saying, and they realize that they need somebody that is not more like emotionally moved and more stable minded. You know what I'm saying? Like, because
that's because
women,
a lot of women. That's because a lot of women they compare these. They don't like. Uh, it's different from person to person. A lot of men, we compare ourselves where we want to be at. We look at the older guys, and we kind of get if that man wants to be successful or wants to be accomplished, we look at older men and see what they at and judge our progress on where they were at in their time frames in their life. A lot of women they judge how things are based on their peer group. So they really don't realize that they need leadership until they get to older age, and then the women around them they look at, oh, I don't match up to the women around me because they usually compare themselves to who's in their age group. That's why a lot of women don't start valuing marriage until they get old and they start seeing all their friends now married or the people around their
mm,
cousins and stuff married, and they're the only one that ain't married. Now they start pressuring to get married because they don't judge themselves on where they want to be in 10 years. They look at what's happening right now currently around them. So they typically don't value leadership until they get to that point where they look. Everybody's around me getting married. Everybody got a family now, and I'm here.
that's a
Definitely,
fact.
so I definitely agree. I think that if I'm looking at the majority, I think I definitely see that they put the money first, sex, and then leadership. And I agree with the doctor, man. I think it should be the leadership first, then the money, and then the sex. But
Yeah.
I mean, nobody said anything. I mean, well, my
Because the
fellas did.
smart women, other coaches, the smart women, the other coaches, they know that you need a man for leadership. You need a man for finances. Sex is the one thing that a woman can get without even having a man. She can get herself off without even having a man. Like that other stuff, you actually need that partner for to build a financially stable family, to be led. You actually need a man for. Smart women know even if that man don't have great sex, I'm gonna stay with him because it's better for the family. He's a leader. It's financially, and they'll find a way to get themselves off because that can be done manually.
You know what, too, though, man? Like a lot of times, a lot of times it's really about like learning like a woman's body. You know what I'm saying? Because some women don't even know their own body, and some women never even give their own self an orgasm. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like a lot of times with sex, women be feeling like the man should like read their mind, but I think like a lot of
Exactly.
women should feel safe to let their man know like, yo, what they like, or maybe they don't come from the penetration, maybe they need a little clitoris act. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I think they should feel like they should have healthy conversations so that man could please them, because sex is like it's just like it's sex. I mean, it gotta be good, but it's still sex. I think you should like be leaving your man because of sex. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's like
I,
you don't got no sex, then that's some different shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think because a lot of women are emotional and they lead with their feelings and they done bought into this Disney fantasy and movies and everything, they believe in this theory of the one, it should be magical. Like that should like the sex should be something that's mind blowing. If they believe the right one should have mind blowing sex, they done bought into this. The first kiss was magical. When we laid down and have sex, I was blown away. And a lot of times when they don't get that blown away feeling when the sex is whack starting off, they go, he can't be the one. Because if he was the one, that would have been on point.
True, true. So,
Mhm.
around what age do y'all think the values for women start to shift? Where these things that like that order that we just talked about typically start to shift, where women would start putting that leadership first. Around what age y'all think the women start actually really tapping into the actually valuable things in their life versus all of the other stuff?
I would say if we got to put an age on it, I would say mid 30s. I would say mid 30s. They getting out their 20s. They still feel a little hot in their early 30s. They still shaking and baking. When they start approaching that 40-year-old mark, that's kind of when they start valuing those things more. But I think in totality, it's kind of based on when that woman feel like her value is dropping. Because you would have a 35-year-old woman, if she still look hot, she still look youthful, she still had that same mentality. It'll take her a little longer. So it usually don't start kicking in until they actually start feeling like their looks are starting to deteriorate and their stamina is not the same. Then they start looking at it like, I got to hurry up and make something happen now. I got to beat that shot clock. So I kind of, but if I had to put an age on, I would say mid 30s, 34, 35, 36.
True, true. Is it what you think? Around what age you think these things start to shift? These values start to set in for women? What you think? Around what age?
When you say values, like, what do you mean?
Like when she started really actually searching for actual leadership, and she's not solely caught up in like how we're talking about like sex and imagery of the man and all this other stuff like that. When her values is actually about the family, actually really about the longevity of it, because women ain't thinking that way from the jump. This usually takes a little time for them to mold into. So around what age, if you had to place an age on it, around what when would you give that?
Um, I would say, I mean, I don't really. It's hard to like really mark an age because, like, a lot of like, I think like a lot of women like want to like, generate a family, or like, I guess like the values, like, when they shift, it's really more so when they're done, like, leading, when they, when they're kind of like done fending for themselves, really. So, at first, when they're living their life, they're going out, they're having fun, they're discovering who they are as a person. But I don't know, when push comes to shove, it's like, and you're kind of like, kind of like sick of like, and you're starting to figure out how like, woman's placement is in the world. It's like, okay, like, what, like, I'll feel like, I guess, like more certain in myself if I decide to like get married, or if I have kids, or like whatever have you. So I think it's like, I think that probably, if I was to put a certain age on it, I'd probably would say maybe like it would start maybe like around 25 as the earliest, and then maybe like in the 30s, like 30, 31.
I agree with the comment Centralia made too. I'm just seeing it at 9:44. I know what she was referring to. So I agree with what she said. If you still looking.
She said she agreed with you. Mr. Dollar,
Wait,
what you
what?
think, man? If you had to put an age on it, man, around when do you think that shift typically occurs?
A solid age, I would say like 30, like 30. Because around 30, a lot of women start getting worried about like their biological clock, and you know what I'm saying? They start really taking like relationships and leadership seriously. But when they're younger, they still you know what I'm saying? They're still gambling with their youth, still doing their thing, and you know what I mean?
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I think that we had to put an age on that thing. I think it's around about I say about 35ish that it starts to set in for a lot of people, a lot of these women that that clock is definitely getting close. You know what I'm saying? That they know that because if it was a woman who might not have wanted kids a lot younger, she know that it's getting closer and closer to she get to a place of this geriatric style life where she might not be able to have kids. So I think that as they move a little further, that's about 35 if I had to place it, they start to worry a little bit more. And I agree with what Matt said too, that it might take a little longer for that shift if you have like one of those women who carried through her 30s still as fine as she was in her 20s, and she might hold on to them a certain lifestyle a little bit longer because they still out chasing, you know what I'm saying, they still them guys still trying to snatch up and do certain things. So I think sometimes when a lot of that noise exists, it's kind of hard for a lot of times for some women to exist above that noise. You know what I'm saying? When you're getting the exact same. So I think that's where that come into. Um,